Kiribati, which straddles the equator near the international date line, has found itself at the leading edge of the debate on climate change because its atolls rise just a few feet above sea level. The half-meter sea level rise projected by climate scientists would submerge a significant proportion of the land on which the locals live. One of the least developed countries in the world, Kiribati, has contributed little to worldwide carbon emissions, yet has the most to lose from global warming. Should the locals of Kiribati surrender to climate change and evacuate, can anything be done to help them buy more time? Well, we'll find out in just a second. Today we have the privilege to interview Ambassador Tito. Ambassador Tito was the President and Foreign Minister of Kiribati from 1994 to 2003. Hi, I'm Seyoon Yoon. I'm the founder and CEO of Echo the Eco. Echo the Eco is a newly established organization that strives to provide service and aid to those around the world that have been affected by climate change. Specifically, we hope to provide aid to small islands in the Central Pacific Ocean that are currently drowning as a result of rising sea levels. The citizens of these nations need funding and government support to be able to evacuate safely from the islands. And Kiribati is an island in the Central Pacific Ocean, and it comprises of 33 atolls and reef islands. And it is reasonable to assume that many of you guys have not heard of Kiribati, but I'm sure that you guys heard of climate change. Some say that Kiribati will disappear from the map in the next few decades, and some also say that the island will be uninhabitable by the year of 2050. And I quote the 2017 annual report from the United Nations, Kiribati is already have reached the point of no return. And today we have the privilege to be joined by this gentleman, Ambassador Tito, and thank you very much for making this interview session possible. So, my first question is, as I've already mentioned, the gravity of climate change impacts on Kiribati, but really, how serious is it?
Yes, that's a good question, because there's so many stories about Kiribati, and you read them in the United Nations, you read them in newspapers, in the United Nations reports, media reports. But let me tell you, the reality on the ground. The islands are certainly being battered by the waves, the storms, the extreme weather events. Yes, the islands are being very much disturbed and disrupted by the impact of climate change, but not to the extent, as reported by many people, that the islands are really sinking. They're not yet, but there is this fear. There is this fear that if these extreme events, climate events, continue, then there may be a possibility of that disaster happening. So right now the government is trying to tell people that it will do all it can to make the island strong, resilient, and to stand against the impact of climate change with the help of the world. And so this is now the position of the present government, as different from the previous government, which was, of course, of the opinion that Kiribati was really going down, and the people must be moving quickly, and the land being purchased at the time. But this is kind of it's taking a step back. The new government is saying, no, that is not the right way. We must not think of running away. We must not think of abandoning the island. So they're ready to combat and fight with the rest of the world.
So you're saying that Kiribati is not actually in that much of a catastrophe compared to what the media is saying?
That's right. That is right. That is
it's a little exaggerated.
There is, I might say, an exaggeration. I guess some people want to see Kiribati as sinking because they may have their own interest in seeing the island sinking. But to be honest with you, I want to put it straight. Yeah, the islands are being affected. It's disturbing the economy of the island, the water reserves, the crop, the settlement of people. They're very much, affected. And they are, of course, there are a lot of hardship with the people, but they're not yet to the point as projected in the media.
You've mentioned that the stance has changed from before and after the two different presidents.
That's
and
right.
What made the stance change?
The former president, President Tong, was of the view that they should work on Plan B, which is to migrate, to buy land in Fiji, and they already purchased land in Fiji, and they spent $9.3 million for that.
Oh, wow.
As a way of preparing for the worst scenario. But the present government is saying, no, we don't have to go to Plan B. Let's work on Plan A first. And Plan A is to work hard to rebuild the broken causeways, the broken seawalls, the roads that are broken. Let us rebuild them. Let us call on the international community to rebuild some of these broken parts of the island. And then if we still fail, then maybe think of Plan B.
But by the point where you guys fail, wouldn't it be too late to come up with a Plan B?
Yeah, it's a good point, but all right, there is land. And I mean, the former president had purchased a land in Fiji, 5,000 acres, for $9.3 million. But the point is, we could have spent $9.3 million first
on
the island before buying a piece of land. So I thought it was kind of reverse, like putting the cart before the horse type of thing. And $9.3 million from a small nation is a lot of money. And $9.3 million could have been used to save many of these areas that have been destroyed. Some villages, some crop areas, seawalls, bridges, causeways, public roads. This could have been fixed with the $9.3 million, but unfortunately, with due respect, the previous leadership decided with Plan B first, and now and of course they neglected Plan B, which is to make the island strong with the help of the international community.
Okay. Although a selected few have migrated out of the island, including yourself and your wife, and some scholars from Kiribati have migrated from the island, right?
It is always the case that people in Kiribati and anywhere else in the islands, in the Pacific Island, they've always moved for education, for employment.
Yeah, of course.
So this is nothing new. But to say that people are already running away, that is not true. Again, there is this impression, there is this story that many people in Kiribati have deliberately packed their property, belongings, and deliberately pay their way to move out of the island to New Zealand or to Australia. That is not true.
That is not true.
That is not true. The truth is, these people have been moving because when they see opportunity for employment, for education, for better life, something better than the island way of life, so they'll move. Only those who have the ability will do it.
Right.
The rest, okay, they're in the island, but they're listening. They keep their ears open to the government.
Okay.
Should they remain to stay, or should they start preparing? Well, right now, the present government is saying, you don't have to panic. Stay. We're here. We're here to stay until such time. The government says, maybe we're singing. Maybe we are not able to. Maybe with the help of the community, the international community, and with our own resource, we are not able to keep the islands, intact. And then that will be the time the government will tell the people that we must go to Plan B. And Plan B must go out to the world and ask the world to help where to move to. But right now, I mean, that is out of the question now.
Okay.
Right now, they rather not think about it. So we need help now. We need help to fix. We need to fix our seawalls, our causeways, our infrastructure. You know, the roads, the drinking water.
The drinking water.
Drinking water is important.
Right.
Now, many of these drinking water areas are being inundated by seawater, and because they come in, and it takes years to, if the rain keeps falling. But when the rain doesn't fall, then they will remain salty. And so people have to turn to some other source of drinking water. So we need help. We need these machines that convert seawater into brackish water or seawater into fresh water. We need this machine that can help the situation with drinking water. And when there is drinking water, we can start growing crops, right, with that. We need money to rebuild our causeways, our roads, our seawalls, because it makes life difficult when these things are not functioning properly.
Okay, so in other words, instead of focusing on migrating out of the island, and you don't know when that will happen because currently the government's focus is working on projects on the island.
On the island, yes, that's right.
And one of the the biggest problem on the island includes seawalls, infrastructures, and clean water and agriculture.
Agriculture, yes, that's right. And we need a lot of help. We're talking in millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and we don't have that. And so we don't get it. If we don't get it from the world, then we're going to have real problem on the island. We may end up, not surviving properly on the island. We may end up, not having good health, right?
And due to rising sea levels, because of the salinity in the seawater, is that why the soils are getting destroyed and thus?
Yes, of course. The sea level itself is dangerous to the island because when the seawater starts getting into the soil, many plants won't grow. Only those that are used to salty water will grow, but these don't produce fruits to eat, right? Mm-hmm. But the crops that we live with, that we get our living from, they depend on fresh water, right? Of course. And so if there is lack of fresh water, or if the seawater is getting into the soil because the sea level rise, and because of the storms, and because of the surges, the waves coming onto the land, then that really affects the livelihood of the people. And this is what we're going to do first, to sort of make the island strong, to build walls around the island, yes, strong walls, yes. And then, like in Holland, you must have read a bit about Holland. Holland is really under sea level. For many hundreds of years, they've survived because they're strong. Right. They maintain, they keep building, whatever dikes, whatever they call it, around there. So really, the ocean is this high here, but the people are living under the level. But they're able to do that because they're strong, they are determined, and we would like to do the same thing in Kiribati.
Of course.
Yes.
So you've mentioned that it is a priority to get aid from the global community.
That's right, yes. Now we are calling on the world community to help us, to bring the money needed,
of course,
to rebuild the island, yes. And that is the Green Climate Fund. Mm-hmm. We are thankful that the Green Climate Fund is available now. Our government is processing the projects, documents, in order to access the Green Climate Fund. Mm-hmm. And the global facility, the GEF, Global Environmental Facility, is another huge funding also. Mm-hmm. That has been around for quite some time. The Green Climate is more recent. So these two fundings, we are now trying to get access into them. Yeah, and so we're working hard. I'm working hard here in consultation with people back in Kiribati, They are now formulating the projects,
Okay.
and I'm already talking to people who are in charge
Uh,
of the Green Climate Fund and the Global Environmental Fund, the GEF, GEF.
okay.
Yes, so that is now our mission.
So going back to the global projects, I'm sure there are projects that were successful and unsuccessful. And what exactly is it that Kiribati would need? Like the local immediate needs?
The immediate need is to rebuild the seawall,
That's
to
the
get,
number
to
one
get the
priority.
water, to get the seawater out, to get the people back, their houses, because many houses have been moved from along the coast, okay?
Okay.
Because the seawater keeps coming in and, and destroying these houses. Of course, the houses are not made of bricks, they're made of local materials, so in a way, it doesn't cost too much, but it's an inconvenience, it's an hardship for people when they have no houses, no homes to stay in. They start, moving into other people's houses, relatives and friends, but that is not good enough. So we need to recover these areas which have been, invaded by the rising seas. We need to build walls there and help the people come back to where they used to, you see, close to the sea. Because our people, they want to be close to the sea because that's where they get the fishes and the shellfish and the lobster, and the octopus. I mean, there's so much food in the sea.
And some people have been suggestive of building a desalination plant for freshwater supply.
That is good. That is also, so we need to have money to get these desalination plants. I was in Israel recently, and they have a machine that makes water out of,
Seawater.
the air. The water vapor in the air, kind of going into the machine, to this, cool it down, and then you start getting fresh water from the moist of the air. But that would be very good also.
Desalination plants.
Yes, the desalination is different because you get the salty water into the machine, and then the machine filters out the salt and leaves the fresh water for drinking. But this one in Israel is very, very, very clever. They put the machine in the air, and the air sucks, the machine sucks the moisture from the air, and then makes the water fresh, nice, clean water.
And what energy does that desalination plant fuel on?
At the moment, well, I saw these ones working with, fuel, the diesel fuel, generators and whatever. But they say they can also use
Solar panels.
Solar panels, yes. I think they will build into that later on. But at least they've got something which is good for our people in the islands, far away from the urban area where there's no electricity. They can put them in the village where with solar panel, and people can have clean, fresh drinking water, so they don't get sick. And especially the babies, the children, and the sick people, right?
Yeah.
For the strong ones, they don't mind drinking water from the well, not very good, but they can cope with it. But for the children and for the sick, I think
Fresh water is imperative.
fresh water, fresh, clean water. So these are the things that are needed now. We need this very badly.
Okay. I have a question about the local citizens of Kiribati. How aware are they about the projected impacts of climate change? I know that they do experience immediate impacts, like the artificial seawalls that they may have put up that are getting destroyed, or water going to their homes, or the fisheries getting impacted. But how aware are they of the projected impacts?
They are very much aware, because in the last 10 years, the previous government has been sort of telling people, no, we're leaving the island. So why are we leaving? So there's a lot of fear, actually. Fear in the people is been there already. And then they begin to know why there is this global warming and sea level rise. A lot of public awareness was carried out in the villages. So people are very much aware. But in fact, they are aware to the point they're very much fearful.
And are they still in that current condition?
They're still in that, but the present government is trying to say, don't be fearful. No, wait, come on, let's work together and do whatever is necessary to make the island strong, to retain, the islands as they are. And they say, let's maintain our paradise. Let's make sure our paradise don't get lost in the rising sea. Let us, protect and let us work hard. And let us do everything that the world is asking us. Okay, some big countries are doing the right thing now. They're cutting down on emissions. And Kiribati people are also being asked. And you must also help in small ways. Although you're not destroying the atmospheric environment in the way they are destroying it in the big countries. You have a part to play. So they're conscious now. They start planting mangroves, plant trees. Every day there is this campaign about planting a tree a day or something around in the different parts of Kiribati. And even the eldest, who were 60, old people that now are aware, okay? They're now being told to cooperate in teaching their children and grandchildren also. Okay. In schools, they are also spreading the message that we have to all be aware and play our part. Even in small ways, okay? So this is not a problem anymore. The awareness is there.
I can't exactly remember when, but either 2013 or 2014, there was a case study from Yale University on the island of Maldives, and there was a shocking number of 40-something% of the citizens saying that even if they were given the chance to migrate, they refused to do so. And that was kind of sparking to me, because I personally believe that if they were given the migration opportunity, if they were given the opportunity to flee from this all catastrophic climate change impacts, they would leave without a hesitation. Yeah. But apparently, because of cultural reasons and because of their family that they were raised, they believe that migration is not the key to solve this issue. And you mentioned that currently it is important that we focus on Plan A, where we focus on land of Kiribati. If there were a condition coming and there are no other options but to migrate, wouldn't it be a problem of citizens thinking that migration is not the key?
Well, if it is a matter of life and death, I'm sure, no one would be crazy enough to stay in something that is, I'm sure. Yeah. I'm talking about, human intelligence. Mm-hmm. I'm sure they will, people, any person with a reasonable sense of knowing what is right, what is wrong, would certainly take the choice of moving out of something that is sinking. Right? But now I guess it's all theoretical, you see, because even in the islands, because they don't know the science, they're still questioning the science. A lot of people, because they believe more in the God, because a lot of people.
Oh, is it a lot of religious?
Because they're very religious communities here. We talk about the Christian.
Oh, a lot of Christianity?
Oh, they use it 95%.
Oh, wow.
And these people, of course, in the Bible and what have you, they believe what the pastors and what the church leaders tell them. And of course, this is about, faith. It's about belief in the super being controlling the planet and everything in the universe. So that is also one area that can make people critical. When you go to see them in the village and you talk about this thing, you have people say, but the Bible say this, but we don't believe you because we don't believe the scientists, but we believe the Bible,
Because they're unaware of the actual science.
Because they don't know the science, Who knows the science? Only those who read the science, but these people can't read science. But they are being told, the science says this, the science says this. They don't really believe it straight away because they never read it, but they're being told. But they read the Bible. The Bible is more real. So there is this conflict, but never mind. They given when the government say, okay, this is something we're gonna do together. Let's build the island, and they're happy to build. And if the government say, let us abandon the island, let's move, I'm sure they will listen to the government. Yes, of course. Because they trust the government.
Yeah, of course. In the United States, there's a program for high schoolers called DARE. It's a program where first responders like firefighters and policemen would take turns and go around and give health classes to high school students. And this is in a lot of high schools now, this is a course that is required to graduate, which means that all high schoolers will now have at least some background knowledge of a sexual education. And I was wondering, because you've mentioned that at Kiribati, a lot of people either do not believe in the science or are unaware of the science, thus making them not believe in rising sea levels, correct? And I was wondering if there could be if it would be a good idea, as like it could be a governmental recommendation where first respondents like firefighters and policemen would take turns going around high schools, or people like me who genuinely want to help go around the high schools, and does not have to be required, or just go around villages and let them know of not very scientific stuff to back up the actual truth, but to an attempt to raise awareness, at least try to tell them what's actually going on. Because I believe that local awareness is actually a key thing in this movement.
Yes, I agree that we need to do more, you see, because science is a very rare thing. Even in school, only a few people take science, right? Not everybody. Maybe half the school population in high school, they take science, and the rest take the arts, right? And so we need to engage those who don't understand the science. But we need to do it in a language that is simple. We need to maybe produce produce films that will make them easily understand, that the science of climate change, right? So right now, as I said, there are those who can understand, and they easily pick it up, and they easily believe in it, believe in what the United Nations or what the advocates of climate change threats are talking about. But there are those then who need to be assisted in order to be fully convinced that there is something called climate change, right? Which has to do with the behavior of human beings in the last 100, 200 years, right? That's my understanding. I'm sure that is also your understanding. Yes. And the nature has been overexploited, right? And as a result, you get an excess amount of carbon dioxide and what have you, warming the planet. And it will take time to make that balance. It will take time, and we need to cut back. Somehow, that everybody needs to cut back. And this is where people, even in the small islands, have to appreciate that they also have a role to play. Because if they don't, they won't cooperate. They won't be part of the planting of trees and cutting down on the burning of forests, what have you, right? That they will not protect nature. They will continue to be careless in the way they exploited the nature. But I think the message now, as I get it from the climate change narrative, is to all trying to moderate, cut back. From the big companies to the small people in the village, let's try and cut back on the exploitation of the planet, right?
Of course.
Yes.
So raising local awareness, going back to my point,
Yes.
is not an importance?
No, it's not. To me, it can be easily fixed. I mean, this is why we're in schools. But I'm talking about the older generation. It takes time because they passed away from school, all right? So we're talking about the generation that's already out of school. And they don't understand the science. And they can't even appreciate what the science is saying. But for those coming up, I think we have no problem because they are now in the schools, and the schools are already organizing programs.
To educate them
To
regarding
educate
the
them.
subject.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there's an environmental, there's a subject now being taken around the schools. You know, in addition to their public awareness that they visit schools and visit villages, I think they're also coming up with a curriculum in schools.
Okay, that's good. That's nice.
That will sort of make sure that everybody, even if they're not studying science, they understand
What's going on? Okay, that's great.
and try to adjust, try and adjust their behaviors and attitude, of course, and behaviors, so that we can save the planet. Because I think the message now is the planet is in trouble, right?
Yes.
And then these are some of the signs of the bad signs of a troubled planet.
Mm-hmm.
And the planet is in trouble because we human beings have been careless.
Right.
Right?
Right,
And
basically.
So let us try and be more friendly to our let's try to respect Mother Nature.
Mother Nature.
Yes, there's so many ways of expressing it, but I think there is now a move now in many Pacific Islands to go back to traditional practices of the forefathers. Were very good in working with nature. They were very, very friendly with nature.
Mm-hmm.
But as time went on, they forgot those ways. Now they're going back. They're digging back into those traditional practices where the people in those days had great respect for the nature around them. And they would not be doing too much harm for the plants, and to the animals, and to the, they will just take what is enough.
We need that mindset back. Everybody.
I think so. I think you are now in a position, you are young leaders. And you are the ones to cultivate this from this level, as you know, in college, in high schools, and you carry with it. And I'm sure the world would be a better place when you are in charge. When your generation is in charge, and I'm sure.
Hopefully, I mean, for sure, we have.
I think
we don't have a choice. We have to.
Well, from what I can gather from you, I can see you believe in it, and you have some passion for it, right?
Yeah.
Or a lot of passion, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I would say that I think the future is bright.
Hopefully.
Yes, I think the future is bright.
I have a question regarding what we can do. So I've actually thought about, because obviously we don't have the funding, we don't have millions and billions of dollars behind our back. I was thinking what my group can do, and I was thinking about raising local awareness, just like the program I've told you before, but it seems like they're actually very aware of what's going on.
Yes, just tell others what's happening from a small little effort.
Okay.
All right, and who knows, there might be other people joining in, and as a result, Kiribati becomes much more well known to be a country that really needs this assistance. And it's because of a small effort that you have done with your film, with whatever you can do in the media. Once you get into the media will be, I'm sure they'll be interested, they'll be very powerful, these media. They can take the world in a certain direction overnight.
Of course.
Of course. Hopefully the right direction, sometimes not the right direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
The danger now, and I think I need to tell you, we have some big companies in the world who want us to keep saying we are sinking, because they're thinking of getting money from the Green Climate Fund and the Global Environmental Facility in billions of dollars to build floating island.
A floating island.
A floating island project to me is not a good project. But they are trying to sell this. And this is where sometimes they want to use us to cry out and say, we're sinking, we have no hope. And then they will come in and say, these people are sinking. The only option is to build a floating island. And this is something I know is happening already. In Kiribati, we have companies coming.
For tourists.
No, the company is coming and to sell the concept to people. You are thinking, are you? You're afraid. Yeah, we're afraid. And they capture people afraid and scared. And then they come back sometime later. We've got this, a floating island. If you support a floating island, we will make a floating island for you people. You can be on it with coconut trees on it, pandanus trees, with with the culture there. That to me is not right. Taking advantage. And so the money is not going to the solar panel. The money is not going to the seawall. The money is not going to, to recover the crop area. It's going
to them.
To them.
Right.
Making them bigger and bigger, but that is not the point. I mean, they're using the crimes of the victims.
That is crazy.
But it is, that is where the world can be crazy, that we use, people who are suffering to
their own advantage.
To create advantage, to create benefit, thriving on the misery of people, building themselves on the misery of people. And that is something which is not acceptable. And I want to ask you, while you are there to help us, make sure you go against, make sure you beware of companies or people wanting to take advantage of our misery.
Okay.
So that would be my requests to you and to those of you who want to really help Kiribati. Ask the world to come with their money to rebuild the island, make the island strong. And then we will be there, I'm sure.
Okay.
I'm sure you would want us to remain in the islands.
Of course.
Of course. Thank you for that. And if that is your aim, then we're on the same page.
Well, I'm glad that we're on the same page.
I think we are.
So I understand that the priority is on developing the island itself. Yes. And as we, high schoolers or college students, as I mentioned before, don't have the funding of millions and billions of dollars. And with the small funding we have, what is the best effort that we can put in to actually help these people, to immediately help these local people?
Yes, I'm sure you now know the answer to that question. I thought I already shared to you.
To let people know, to spread awareness?
Yes. I'm sure with those little funding you have, you can even do magic to the problem of people by donating or by bringing something like that and raising by publicizing that right in the media. I'm sure that will attract other people to come and help. You have a voice. I'm sure you can make you can talk with a good voice you have as students. I'm sure that your voice can carry a lot of weight also. And you can also make sure that our problems and difficulties are not being kept and not being used for the benefit of others, of the guys who are already
powerful,
and well off. right? But the problem is some people believe in getting more and more. They never know when to stop, you know.
Greed.
The greed, the insatiable hunger, and and the greed that has no limits. I think that's what damaged the planet. I mean, the planet's being damaged not by small people. To me, it's not the small people who damage the planet. It's the big guys, the big powerful ones, want to have wealth and property all over the world, here and there, right? We're okay. We have a home, we have a family, and we have some money there and something there. That's about enough we need. More ordinary people feel like that, but there are many people in the world, they're very powerful.
I don't know if this is the right place to say this, but I actually find it very unfortunate how the countries, the people that are actually doing the most emission are coming from the countries that are getting least affected. And whereas Kiribati, I'm sure they do emit something, actually are one of the countries that emit the least but are getting affected the most.
Thank you. I think you're right. And that is why we need to go out and make a voice in the world. And with you, adding to that voice, that will be very, very helpful. And so I'm here making that voice. It's a small voice. But and I am encouraging my colleagues from small island states to stand together and make a big voice, a voice that the world can hear. Because and we want to change, I think, the future of the world. Because if not, we will continue to be marginalized. We will continue to suffer.
In 2013, actually, the government said that their first priority at the international level is ensure that the Pacific region maintains a strong voice in international flora. And I hope I can help maintaining that international power and the voice.
Yes, we're already working on that. The Pacific group, the small island group in the United Nations, we keep talking and we keep encouraging each other. We keep meeting, and whenever there is something on climate change, we want to make a voice. Right? So we are doing that, yes, and we will continue to do that. Whether we change the world, we change the behavior of the big powerful ones. I hope we do. Because we cannot change the behavior and the attitude, the mindset of the big powerful ones. Then we're wasting our time. The world will continue to get worse and worse, right? But we're hopeful. We believe in being optimistic and positive, right? Otherwise, I wouldn't be spending my time here. I would rather go back. But I believe there's a light at the end of the tunnel. That is my
hope in humanity.
I think there is. And with students like yourself, adding to that voice, good. Good. I'm glad that you're from here. You're from the United States yourself. Are you from other countries?
I'm from South Korea.
Oh, South Korea, but so you're studying here, and eventually you'll go back.
Yes, I will go back.
Well, Ban Ki-moon was the champion of the climate change in Korea, right? He's now retired, but he's now, of course, well known as the champion of. He's the one who make the climate change, really put it forward and to achieve the Paris Agreement, right?
Yeah.
So you can continue to follow the good footsteps, the good footsteps of your great countryman, Ban Ki-moon. Yeah, I think you're on the right track.
I know I've asked this question before, but about what I can do, and you said spreading awareness and raising voice in terms of helping people understand what the island actually needs and what actually the island does not want. But I really want to know what I can do on a local level. Like you said, from the small fundings we have, we can start something very small on the island, which has the potential to spark attention. What exactly, with the small funding we have, can we do on the island that actually might help the people?
I think the water. Water. It's between the panel and the water, but to me, I think the water comes first. Creating, bringing in those desalination, right?
Okay. And from what I understand, on the island there's something called a Tamana pump. Is that correct? Where they have
A pump, yeah, a pump. They make they really they genius. Some of the genius on the island they create a pump which draws water from the well, right?
Mhm.
And makes it easy. Even the women can do it, because usually a pump is difficult. It takes a lot of muscle and manpower. But they create a pump which can draw water easily with a little pull. You get a lot of water coming out and fill up a bucket, you see, and they call it Tamana pump.
Tamana pumps.
So you're up to date. You're well aware of what's going on. Yeah, there's a Tamana pump there. But that comes from the well, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about the desalination, which means turning the seawater
into clean water.
into fresh water.
Because from what I understand, a Tamana pump seems like a very good solution, but it actually is sometimes contaminated and also uses the fresh water underneath the island, which might actually do a lot of damage in the future.
That's right. Yeah. It's not, because they tend to draw more than they used to draw, and they waste it, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do it, with a normal pump or with a little can where you throw in the pump, which you conserve the water. But if you're gonna create a pump, we'll just pull it out, and that's the problem with solar pump, because then the mana pump was replaced by the solar pump, which is on the panel. And this just runs, while the sun is there.
It'll waste the water underneath.
And then you create, all the fresh water drawn out, and in its place you have salty water, brackish salty. Because the water lens is only a certain amount underneath the land. When the island was created, there was this place underneath called the water lens. Mm-hmm. When the rain comes down, collects and builds there. It's a lens. Mm-hmm. Sometimes very thick, sometimes very thin. Okay. And then, so when there is no rain, when there is a long dry season, then you find the wells near the houses getting salty. You have to move further inside the land, and then you have to take about 1 hour, half an hour going and half an hour coming back. It's a lot of hard work. But then they bring in the solar pump with pipes to the villages, and that's when we had problems again.
And do you know a rough estimate of the funding that is required to build one desalination plant?
I think, there is one already as an experiment there, which is brought from Britain. There's a guy who's married to a British guy, married to a local woman. And he's very much committed. So he brought this as a model and asked the government to look at it. But somehow the government has not yet made a decision. But you may have another model. But this one cost something like maybe 60, 70,000.
70,000 US dollars?
Yeah, 70,000 US dollars. That's the one I get. But it depends on the size, how much the output, right?
Yeah.
But that one is producing like, I think it's good for a small village.
It's good for a small village?
Yeah.
And after the interview, would it be okay if I get his contacts or?
Yes.
Any more? Okay.
I can give you the contact of this family that have it. And of course, the people in the community, they come and taste the water. Even they're being assisted. They're helping children and families who don't have enough clean water. They get it free of it because it's just part of the publicity. But you may want to look at that, or you may want to engage with this family. Mm-hmm. And who knows, you might be able to find funding to provide one to go to a village. Mm-hmm. Right?
Nice.
And then that will spark off the good news. Mm-hmm. And if you can do it as a student group, I'm sure some bigger group with bigger resources will do more, right?
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully.
Yeah.
I have a last question.
Yes.
And so, in reality, a lot of people do not actually necessarily care about the subject matter of Kiribati drowning, or just care about rise in sea levels or anything because it doesn't directly impact them, right?
No, it doesn't. No, because not everybody is impacted. We're just talking about certain proportion of the population.
No. I'm saying that in the global community,
Yes.
there are a lot of people that are not affected from rising sea levels.
Yes.
And which means that a lot of people actually don't care about this subject of rising sea levels
All
and
right.
climate change.
Okay.
And my last question is, what would you say to those people?
Well, we would ask them to reconsider their opinion. We would ask them to maybe take time, make time and come and see the islands.
Could you please say that to the camera?
Yes, we would like to ask these people to change their opinion, and also ask them to come to Kiribati and see the islands for themselves, see what's going on, see the impact of climate change, see the damage, see the amount of damage and the amount of suffering that people are going through, especially those who are being affected by the impact of climate change.
Well, thank you for giving us time to make this interview possible.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you for taking the trouble of coming all the way
No.
to see me on that, and I appreciate it. I think it's a very worthwhile meeting. Very, very useful for Kiribati, and also for you in your wanting to help, in your wanting to reach out to the people in Kiribati, wanting to help our people. So I thank you for that.
Okay.